Good evening and welcome to all who have joined us live or viewing on the YouTube channel. I am Kathy Steen, and facilitating this session with me tonight are Dr. Heidi Oliver Ogilvy and Dr. Zipporah Miller. We are all from the Division of Professional Growth and Development. Joining us tonight is Mr. Bob Mosier, our Chief Communications Officer. I'd like our audience to know that we have some dignitaries who are with us and listening to the session tonight. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the presence of Board of Education Vice President Dana Schallheim, Board Member Candace Entwine, Board Member Robert Silkworth, Board Member Dr. Joanna Bates Tobin, Board Member Michelle Corkadell, and Deputy Superintendent Dr. Maureen McMahon. We would like to begin by thanking you for investing your time with us this evening. Your feedback is truly valuable. Anne Arundel County Public Schools is hosting a series of virtual listening tours to gather information from parents, students, employees, and community members on how instruction and other aspects of school operations should look as we continue to plan for the 2021-22 school year. A few weeks ago, our superintendent, Dr. Arlotto, communicated his desire to hear input from all stakeholders regarding our thoughts on how instruction should look as we move forward. He is seeking our collective ideas regarding the possibilities that lie ahead as we consider how to adapt the technological advances to in-person learning, and also how we best help students overcome the disrupted instruction of the past year. Let's take a moment to hear from our superintendent. We can't hear the video, Mr. Mosier.
Give us just one moment.
Hi, everybody, and thank you for being here for this session of our listening tour. A little more than a year ago, our collective world was turned upside down. The COVID-19 pandemic struck education suddenly and fiercely, and it changed the educational landscape forever. What we've collectively done over the last year plus is something of which we should all be very proud. There are those who say we've moved too slow. Others say we've moved too fast. But together, we have reinvented education in our county and, to the best of our ability and within the ongoing restrictions, done everything we could for every one of our students. Every single person in our school community, even when they have disagreed, has played a part in that, and I want to thank you. We stand on the edge of a new frontier now. In several short months, a new school year will be upon us. The questions for us are simple. How will we best utilize both the challenges and the successes of this pandemic to create better opportunities for our students in September? How will we best help them overcome disrupted education? And how will we make our classrooms better next fall than they were in March of 2020? We'll continue to focus on equity and access. All means all, with no exceptions. We will continue to focus on building relationships, on social and emotional wellness, on teaching and learning, and on maintaining rigor. In the fall, we'll be bringing students back 5 days a week for in-person learning. We are discussing limited all virtual options for students who will most benefit from them, but we are not planning any kind of hybrid instruction in the next school year. With that said, where do we go from here? We want your ideas. How do we best harness technology moving forward? What kinds of creative scheduling can we employ to assist our students? What have we done that you would like us to continue or to modify? What didn't work? What ideas haven't you heard discussed that you want us to know about? I'm absolutely confident that the plan we build moving forward will result in educational experiences better than the ones we have left more than a year ago. We need your help, your ideas, your input to do that. We are truly better together, and I thank you in advance for the critical insight you will provide in this discussion.
As we provide feedback, let us consider how might we create learning spaces across our district that center and prioritize high-quality learning for students and adults, social and emotional wellness, diversity, equity, belonging, and social justice. How might we explore and understand what it means to thrive at school and at work? How might we use all of the best practices implemented during at-home and hybrid learning? How might we eliminate practices that are antiquated or inequitable? How might we examine data to see opportunities for innovation, accountability, and improvement? And finally, how might we create hope and action to see amazing outcomes for all? We will now begin with the public comment section. During this time, you will have the opportunity to provide feedback on the following topic: social emotional learning, equity, teaching and learning, schedules, and resources. Please know you are also able to provide comments using the feedback form located on our website at aacps.org/listening tour. For each speaker that is signed up, your time is limited to 2 minutes. Please remember to keep your comments civil and appropriate for the audiences who are viewing this presentation, and we ask that you stick to the topic. Mr. Mosier will let you know when your time has expired. The first segment of public comment will be focused on social emotional learning. Anne Arundel County Public School uses the following definition for social emotional learning, also known as SEL, from the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, also known as CASEL. The definition reads as follows: the process through which children and adults acquire and effectively apply the knowledge, attitudes, and skills necessary to understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain relationships, and make responsible decisions. Our first speaker tonight is Lisa Wise.
Ms. Dean, Ms. Wise is not signed in at this time.
Okay. So we will move to our next segment, which is focused on equity. Anne Arundel County Public School uses the definition for equity from the Maryland State Department of Education. The definition is as follows: granting every student access to the opportunities, resources, and educational rigor they need throughout their educational career to maximize academic success and social and emotional well-being, and viewing each student's individual characteristics as valuable. Our first speaker for this section tonight is Amanda Davidson.
Miss Davidson is not signed.
Then we will move to Melissa Eidelman.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, so I just kind of wrote up something quick and I'm going to read from it and then maybe add some of my input that I felt. I just want to kind of start with, like, I'm not going to sit here and claim that I have all the answers or the right solutions. I'm actually just really happy I have this opportunity to be heard on a subject matter that's near and dear to my heart. I want to talk about opportunity and fairness for children who need much stronger early literacy interventions. I quoted Dr. Sanders before, a licensed psychologist that tested me when I was younger. And I'm going to quote him again. In a study he's done, that about 15 to 20% of children suffer with some form of reading and writing deficiency. This can also be known as dyslexia. Sometimes these children show gifted talent in other areas, such as art, athletics, science, just to name a few. We can continue, I feel, to implement programs and highlight and reward these students in those areas, but at the end of the day, every child needs a strong early literacy foundation to have any chance of success in life. Well, I honestly do see many great things happening already, both with current members of the board starting discussions and putting together workshops, as well as the implementation of the Wilson program at some schools. I worry it's just not enough, especially with this past year. I really didn't want to focus necessarily on the past year to shed light on this subject that I know has already had some light shed on it, but nonetheless, this seems like a perfect opportunity. The simple fact that is that our situation is now many kids, not just with learning disabilities, are even more behind. This just isn't going to be fair for them, no matter what circumstances put us there. This is especially not fair to an area I wanted to shed light on too, to families with low income. I worry about these parents and these children and how they're going to catch their children up. Even if these children excel in other areas, the parents may not have had or had the means to provide private tutors, put them in private school, reach out to special educational clubs. Even if they excel in sports or arts, they haven't had that opportunity to, pay for these clubs and keep their kids staying up to date. So I don't quite have the solutions or the answers yet, but I did want to speak on that subject matter because I don't just care deeply about my children. I honestly care deeply about all children. I mean, they're our future, and I just wanted to shed light to that subject matter.
Thank you. In the next segment, we address teaching and learning. Anne Arundel County Public Schools designed a research-based framework known as the Teaching and Learning Cycle. This document provides us with a common language and vision around effective instruction. The framework outlines practices in the following areas: planning for learning, teaching for learning, assessing for learning. Our first speaker for this section is Matthew Hilbert. And if I mispronounce your name, please forgive me and correct me.
No, you did just fine. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No, thank you. I haven't ever called in or spoken before, and so I appreciate you giving this opportunity. I think it's excellent that we are able to work together as a community to help our kids. And I guess I'm speaking from someone who both prior to the COVID virtual learning environment and then kind of learning from that, as someone who moved to this environment or moved to this area in our county a couple of years ago and have 2 students who are in our high school. What I witnessed and what I'd love to see as far as solutions for the future, at least some things to help, is what came out of our first semester here and a back to school night. I have spoken with our principal over at our school here. But what I guess what I was concerned of is teachers teaching subject matters that they were not trained for, such as history teacher or someone who majored in history teaching honors biology, or a physical education teacher teaching history, and my kids not finding any joy or excitement because the teachers didn't have a passion for the subject matter. And so I was thinking that, or at least hoping that, as we look to have teachers teach subject matter in the fall or in the spring, that the teachers that would be chosen would be ones who have a passion for their subject matter and desire to want to teach it to the students. Without that passion for the subject matter, it doesn't really come across very well to the kids. One other area, and this is kind of prior to COVID, is in a meeting that I had after going to our principal a number of times, is the desire to have kids with a rigorous curriculum. And that was something I heard, the rigor that our superintendent shared in the opening words there, but that's not something that we have observed or found. And so my kids have been in honors in AP, and yet those have not been overly challenging compared to where they have been prior to coming to Anne Arundel. So I'm hoping or thinking that we can learn more, not only from our own county, but also talking to other states and other counties of how they have it with the curriculum that is set out there. The experiences of AP in Anne Arundel or in our state are much lower than the experiences my kids had in other schools in other states. And so those were 2 areas that came about prior to COVID. But now with the virtual and hybrid environment, I think as many parents, or I'll just speak for my own self and my family, the technology as the sole source of teaching and the sole conduit for our students from our teachers has not been beneficial at all. It's been more detrimental. My kids are dealing with emotional as well as learning issues that they've never experienced before. And I know it's something we've all had. So I guess my encouragement would be that we would look to use technology, whether it was the Chromebooks or however, more as a resource and a tool, but do not rely upon it for primary instruction. And one example I give of that is—
Your time has expired.
Sorry, I apologize. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Patricia Medeiros.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity. I am a teacher in the county, and so I am happy to speak on behalf of teachers who have been experiencing this from the opposite side of the equation here. It has been a struggle for everyone in this situation. And so just a word of congratulations to those teachers who have worked through this challenging situation and made the best of a difficult situation from every aspect. They've definitely risen to the challenge that they have been handed, and juggled the almost daily changing curriculum, scheduling, and environmental changes. The most challenging thing that they've had to overcome, and the action that was probably the most helpful, was the incorporation of technology. It has been helpful for students to be exposed to a variety of different learning tools, and given the opportunity to learn to research, to learn to use the 21st century technology that is out there. And that has definitely improved from K to 12. I work in a K to 8 school, one of our contract charter schools, and to see the growth that the students have made through this opportunity to put the technology in the hands of the students. Do we want to see that continue in the future? Moderately, yes, but there's nothing like having a teacher in front of students in engaging them in multiple ways. But having the opportunity to incorporate technology has definitely been helpful. It is not ideal to have them use that as their primary tool and the only tool available to them. That's not ideal, and we all knew that the entire time. Some of the things that we wish would have been done differently is communication. Things just kind of seem to fly at us kind of spur of the moment, and things had to happen very, very quickly. But that was the world that we were living in, and that wasn't ideal for the students as well. Teaching
Your
and
time has
learning.
expired.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Matthew Carr.
Ms. Dean, Mr. Carr is not signed in.
Thank you, Mr. Mosier. Our final segment for the night addresses scheduling and resources. Our speaker is Nicole Morella.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I have two children, one in elementary school and one in middle school. And what I noticed about, I'm just going to address this past semester, was the block scheduling that happened. That period block is so long for a child to attend to, and I am hoping that you all realize that next year, I would love to see us go back to the 30, 40-minute periods that we had previously had. My middle school son has English twice a week for 80 minutes. That's the same as he would have if he was in college, and a 12-year-old can't attend to that kind of long span for that period of time. And so my hope is that was only for this period of time, because I don't want him to have English. I want him to have English 5 days a week and for 40 minutes, not twice a week for 80 minutes. So I would really like to see the block scheduling go away. One thing that I've noticed that was helpful is that, especially now my son in middle school, he has PE outside. I think that's fantastic. My daughter's had science outside. We are fortunate enough to have a lot of acreage in our county that our school districts are on. And I would love to see us take much more advantage of that, whether it be art, PE, science, whatever it may be. There's no reason why the teachers can't be outside more in non-COVID times even, to be utilizing that. The other thing I'm going to talk about is resources, and the previous two speakers talked on that. I am imploring you with everything in me, get more physical books in these kids' hands. My daughter right now is in 3rd grade and they're reading a book together online. She struggled so much, I actually went to the county library and took out the physical book for her to follow along with. And she is actually enjoying it now because she's able to turn the pages and run her fingers over the words. My son had Avid last year and he was taught how to annotate and take notes and highlight. When these kids don't have physical books to do that with, they struggle. There is a place for technology, but I don't believe it should be a crutch. And I think that there is a reason why these kids should have textbooks. Now that may sound old school and antiquated to some people, but there is study after study that shows that there is a physical, the physical act of turning the page actually helps to embed the knowledge better. My son has Spanish for the first time this year. He has no Spanish to English dictionary. He has no physical resource. He only has online resources.
Your
And
time has expired.
I just really wish that physical books would be more forefront going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. We would like to thank you all again for participating in the listening tour. Please take time to provide any additional comments using the feedback form located on our website at aacps.org/listening tour.